All right, let's talk about it. A bunch of people sent me Kevin Samuels' link to his interview with Nicki Minaj. I read the comments. Some of the comments were more valid than others. I think a lot of people were anticipating some sort of smoke. You know, looking at it and thinking about it from the standpoint of how people's platforms actually work on YouTube, you aren't going to see any smoke. That interview between Kevin Samuels and Nicki Minaj, and I don't know whether Kevin was on her show or she was on his show. I don't know, but I'm saying that was more of a curtsy. Like to me, it was Kevin was bowing and Nicki Minaj was giving a curtsy, and that's all you were going to see. Um, I think that a lot of the more intellectual people were looking for, they basically want Kevin to be, this therapist. Kevin will say he's an image consultant, but they want Kevin to be like, the therapist, really breaking shit down on some deep, level. And that wasn't going to happen on the platform without attacking Nicki Minaj, and ain't no telling how she would react. It was nice seeing Nicki, especially as the show started off. She started getting more goofy and cartoonish towards the end of the show. Nicki Minaj to me is like, she's like The Mask. She's like Jim Carrey in The Mask. She's always making these crazy expressions and faces and everything. But the way that the show started off, it did demonstrate a more human side to Nicki Minaj. But getting into the relationship aspect, where Nicki Minaj asked the question, why is it that when black men become successful, they go over the fence? And Kevin gave her a Steve Harvey answer. He gave a very real general, we're not talking about you type of answer. There was no smoke. And to me, it wasn't a genuine answer. I don't, and again, I don't think the show was about interviewing Nicki Minaj. That would be something that she would have to agree to, which she probably wouldn't agree to, and it would be smart for her not to agree to it. It would be smart, because all that's going to come up is the fact that, she's with a Dusty. Last time I checked, here, let me check now. Let me see what Nicki Minaj net worth. I think it's like 80 million. And it's like it's kind of silly talking about relationships with these celebrities, black celebrities, because, and Kevin did point that out. He's like, you got the athletes, entertainers, rappers, and then you got your regular working people. And what regular working people are looking for, or what's more realistic, is or are working professionals, doctors, lawyers, judges, business owners, business executives, stuff like that. So when these women call on the show asking for a high value man, that's mainly what they're talking about. If they can get a rapper or entertainer or athlete or something like, great, fantastic. But once you get into that territory, you're not dealing with realistic numbers. And I mean, that's just what it is. You're not dealing with realistic numbers. Like the situation with Rihanna and ASAP Rocky, like, oh, Rihanna is worth, like, what is she worth? Like, I think she's worth like $500 million. And then you have, let me see what Rihanna's net worth is. I want to get it right. And then I think ASAP Rocky only got like maybe like 10 million. Rihanna net worth. Damn, nah, she's a billionaire. She's $1.7 billion. That's what Rihanna's working with. As of 2022, $1.7 billion. Yeah, so she's a billionaire. So, I mean, congrats to her. I mean, virtually no man on the planet can really fool with her, other than, other races of men. Hate to say it, but that's just the reality of it. At 1.7 billion at 33 years old. I don't know any black men that are worth 1.7 billion at 33 years old. Do you? Because I don't. So, you got the Rihanna situation. Even with Nicki Minaj, it's like she's talking about men becoming successful and they hop the fence. And like I said, Kevin didn't really give the proper answer. He gave an answer which made it where she wouldn't feel attacked. He kept it very general. Nah, what he should have said is when, black men in that business category, professional, dealing with realistic numbers, people who are 100,000aires at best because they make maybe $200,000 a year, anywhere from 100,000 and like 300,000. Let's go with that ballpark. These are your top 10% of incomes in the black community. These are the people that at least drive some sort of Mercedes where people would say that they're successful because they're riding around in an S-Class. They're not riding around in a Rolls Royce. They're not riding around in a Lambo. They're not riding around in a Rari. They're riding around in, top executive, vehicles, Audi A8, BMW 8 Series, even though they got rid of the 6 Series, which I don't know why, but then again, the 8 Series is basically similar to it. But I hate the freaking 4-door, but that's a whole different conversation. S-Class Mercedes-Benz. What else is out there in that luxury? I mean, you could throw up, a top-end Tesla. These are sort of executive saloons. You could throw an Escalade in there, right? When your average person, who grew up, probably worked a crummy job at Walmart or something like that. When they talk about having somebody who's successful, they're talking about that. They're talking about doctor money, lawyer money, Dennis Sperling, lead attorney. That's the type of numbers that they're talking about. They're not talking about, 9, figure incomes and stuff like that. That's unrealistic. No, 99.9% of people are not going to touch that. So using celebrities as a baseline is just very poor math when discussing the black community. But what was I going to say about Nicki? There was something in there where Nicki said, Nicki asked that question about black men becoming successful, and the real answer is the lack of cooperation, the wrong orientation, these sort of role reversed mindsets. And I mean, basically it comes down to the 4, not feminine, not fit, not cooperative, not submissive. That's what it comes down to. A lot of sisters, they want to come on, they want to talk about colorism, self-hatred, all that stuff. That brother that puts out the videos, We Need to Talk, and even Danikia, when she laid out that whole thing about struggle love. I mean, man, there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go with that. I got a colleague of mine. He went on a date with a chick, found out that she had a kid on the date. She told him that he was too nice. And somehow he found out who her her baby daddy was. And he did a little bit of investigating and found out that he, had, I think, 6 gun charges. He had 6. And then he was wondering whether he should even be talking to the woman, because he's like, man, what if he feels some type of way and then, he come looking for me, right? And I just told him straight up. I was like, she got a kid. I'm like, you shouldn't have been dealing with her in the first place, period. But, and I'll get back to that. I was thinking about making a different video, because I had to really do some explaining to him about what's really going on out here. He had another problem previously where he went to some bar and he was talking to 2 women, and I think one was black and one was white. The other one might have been mixed. I don't know. But he said he was talking to 2 women, and everything, they were getting ready to go. Like he was ready to fuck. He was going to smash. He was like, yeah, I'm going to roll out with these 2 chicks and it's on. He's going to get with at least one of them. Like, so he was feeling good. But then they were like, blah, 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 yada, yada, yada. What do you do? And he was like, oh, I work at the hospital. Right. And he said what he did. He just finished his MD. Right. You know how like you transition from, they have programs where if you're already in healthcare, you can, go back to school and do stuff. And, he did all that. And as soon as they heard that, they straightened up so quick. They just straightened up on his ass. And then all of a sudden started talking with the fake Becky, the representative, when Keisha's the secretary and then she puts on her fake Becky when she answers the phones. They started doing that with him. And he was like, wait a minute, like, we got the shots and we was drinking and ha ha ha, laughing it up and everything. Like, I thought we was gonna go off and, do something. And no. As soon as they found out what his career was, they shut it down. And I told them why they shut it down, because you became a prospect at that point. You got women out here, they will sleep with you, they will get with you, they will bust it wide open for Pookie and Dusty's, because they don't care what Pookie and Dusty thinks. But you, oh no, you roll in high-end circles. If they mess around with you, then number one, you may view them a certain way, and they want to make you a prospect because you're supposed to wife it down or hub it down, whatever you want to call it. And then the other thing is, if it doesn't work out with you and their reputation gets sullied in the type of circles that you roll with, which they may also want to roll with, at least when it comes to settling down, they know that the word's going to get around and it may mess up their future prospects with other men of your caliber. So they're not going to do it. And I had to call them out, because I was like, see, your problem is, and many of us were told this, your problem is that you thought that this was going to be easy. That because of all the complaints that you hear from women, that, and I'm talking about when he went on the date with the single mom, I'm like, you figured, even though I'll give him credit because he didn't know that she was a single mom until they went on a date and she told him. But I was like, look, I don't even play that game. I ask these women straight up, are you a baby mama? Are you a single mom? Because if they are, I just keep it moving. I'm not with that. A lot of guys are underestimating the responsibilities that go along with dating single mothers. I have another friend of mine who's his stepson, technically, he got into the jam with police, and he had to put up $5,000 bail to get him out. And he's feeling some type of way about that, because he already has kids with the woman, and he's got 2 kids with her. And so you got to think about that. She's already has 2 kids by another dude that's not paying at all for the kid, and he had to come up $5,000 that's resources that's being taken away from his own biological kids and helping out taking care of another man's biological kids. So he's running around feeling some type of way. You know what I mean? I had to walk him off the edge, because of stuff like that. But I'm like, you underestimated what it would be like dealing with, a single mother. You saw an attractive woman, you figured you could handle it, because a lot of the men that came before us and generations before us, they were dealing with it. And, we thought that it was okay. Until you get put in that position, until your resources are going away from your kids. This is why Cap was always on some, chick, you already got kids. Let's just deal with the kids that you already got. Because if we start adding more fruit to the bowl, maybe I'm going to like strawberries more than I like the grapes that are already in the bowl. If you get my drift. Meaning he was trying to tell her, I may prefer and like my own kids to taking care of your kids that you had with somebody else. You see. So why do I say all that? I say all that to say, that when we get into the, why are the successful men, jumping the fence, and why are they dating out? We have a problem in the black community in terms of how black men are valued. We have a serious problem. And basically I just told them it comes down to the fact that they don't want to be told what to do. They don't want to live up to your expectations and your standards. And getting with a guy that is not in your type of position, they can't be judged. They can't be told what to do, which is, I already said that. And, they get to typically call the shots in the relationship, which is the type of dynamic that Nicki Minaj has going on. Again, there's a whole bunch of black men that nobody knows about. They're not celebrities. They're not in the spotlight. Now, I don't know any that have $80 million. We just don't know. You know what I mean? You got that one brother. I mean, he's older, but I'm saying, telecommunications, he's a billionaire. You know what I mean? But we don't hear about these black people. It's like black people always want to talk about Black History Month. It's Black History Month now, and they always want to talk about successful black people from, that helped with slavery and Jim Crow, freeing black people and Jim Crow and stuff like that. But they never talk about today's successful black people. And if they do, it's like Oprah, Michael Jordan, like, and then like, Steve Harvey or something like that. Like, no, name some people that actually are successful businesses, corporations. Give me just like a net worth of, like, I don't know, like, 5 million or something like that. Got a $5 million company. There's plenty of people that you could find in Atlanta and other places that are highly successful, but nobody talks about them. Now, personally, I think that a woman like Nicki Minaj, like, she can only date people in the celebrity world. Like she said, she felt I was a 7. Kevin was like, you can't pick a 7. And Kevin told her, like, nah, Nicki, you a 9. And I don't think he was pandering. I think most people would agree that Nicki Minaj facially is well above average. Okay, and so Nicki Minaj got it, but the reason why Nicki Minaj couldn't find a quote unquote man on her level, and I'm saying, yeah, we can argue, yeah, there's very few men that are making 80 million, but there's definitely more men out here. That doesn't mean that she needed to go and marry who the hell she married. I mean, that dude's got what does he have? A rape charge, a sexual assault charge, pulled out a knife on somebody, and Nicki's comfortable with that because she grew up with him. And then at 14 minutes, I think it's 14 minutes and 49 seconds, she's like, I feel like the man in the relationship. Yeah, when you make 80 million and your dude is a convicted felon and really can't do anything for you. And then the even further disrespect, because towards the end of the show, all she did was talk about sex and talk about how many orgasms, she could get and whatnot. And I'm like, yeah, so we already know what's his name? Pettiford? What's his name? What's the dude's name? I don't know what his name is. But anyway, we already know what his role is in that household. His role is to blow her back out, and that's it. And again, that goes back to wrong orientation. And even many of Nicki Minaj's acquaintances have already told her that she has wrong orientation. She said it in there, bringing up how she just expects people to do X, Y, and Z for her because she wants it done. You see? So, what was the other thing that I wanted to point out about the whole Nicki Minaj thing? Okay, Kevin Samuels didn't check her. And I know he was fighting not to say anything because he started squirming in his pants. Kevin, it's funny because you'll see Kevin make faces and start squirming when he wants to say something, but if it's not politically expedient for him to do so, he won't do it. But Nicki sat right up there, was talking about, black women. I'm on TikTok and y'all keep talking about why these niggas don't want you and y'all need to stop doing that, da 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 da. And what you need to do is y'all need to go out there and be successful like Nicki, and then go out there and then choose what you want. And I'm like, wrong orientation. That's not how it works. You see? Again, now we're back to, women who are successful trying to go out here and pick dudes like dudes pick women. I got the resources. I got the bag. So I'm going to go out here and pick what I want. Wrong orientation. Nicki Minaj is in a relationship that has wrong orientation. And that quiet as is kept, as beautiful as Nicki is, that brought Nicki down points substantially. And again, that day is coming. Eventually, she will get sick and tired of dude and carrying dude around. She will get sick and tired of that shit, and that relationship will fall apart. And even if she goes out there and tries to link up with somebody else, because Nicki's, is still attractive and everything, not only do you got some Dusty's baby, but then other men are going to look at you like you not a quality woman, like you got this dust buckets baby. That's how they're going to look at the shit. Like, what does he do? What does he contribute? And Nicki will be like, oh, he gives me emotional support and he blows my back out, like she was overly concerned about. Nicki to me has the same issue that a lot of these other rappers have. Where Nicki's contributed heavily to the problem and doesn't even realize it. All this boss bitch talk, all this, nonsense about just the position that she feels that women should be in, all the raunchiness, all the cursing, all the profanity. Ain't really a whole bunch ladylike about that, and that's part of the problem with Nicki Minaj. Not just, she's got 80 million. I'm saying even if you could find a successful dude, he's not going to want that, especially one that's not in her world in the industry. He's not going to want that. You know, like somebody wrote a comment. They were like, damn, like who would want to imagine being in a relationship with Nicki and she's sitting across the table making all them faces. And I was like, excellent comment. 100% accurate. Yeah, it's like she's like Jim Carrey in The Mask. You know, and again, it's like I want to know who the real Nicki is. I don't want to know Nicki Minaj, the entertainer. Like, what is the real Nicki? And for the first like 2 minutes of the interview with Kevin Samuels, I think we saw that. But then towards the end, then she gets into her cartoon shit and asking silly and stupid questions and whatnot. Like, again, y'all ain't having no real conversation. This was Kevin Samuels was standing there in his you know, royal family outfit with all the medals on his chest and shit. He was doing the Prince Charles bow, you know, and Nicki was up there doing a curtsy. That's all that interview was. I was like, y'all ain't gonna get into it, because the first thing that would have to be addressed is the fact that Nicki is in a role reverse relationship. And Kevin wasn't about to touch that for two reasons. Wasn't about to touch that because that would have been a personal attack on Nicki Minaj. And the second reason Kevin wasn't going to touch that is because Kevin has talked enough shit to where he can't touch that now. Because whenever Kevin comes across a woman that's successful or he deems not beautiful enough, he will actually suggest to them that they need to date down. So with that said, he's done it numerous times. There's nowhere for Kevin to go on that front. You see, this is why you got to stick to your guns. I mean, again, if a woman came to me and she was like, you know, I make six figures, like that woman with the dog, you know, with the dog, where she had the dog grooming business, the one that went viral. Okay, that woman was making six figures. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, she didn't necessarily have the looks to go out there and get, Idris Elba, some Idris Elba looking dude with Idris Elba money or something like that, right? Because most guys who make that type of money, they do want women who are at the very least above average. All the sacrifices, all the delayed gratification that brothers have to go through, when they get there, they are looking for something exceptional. You know, it's the same way that people go out here and purchase cars. Okay, and, a lot of people, yeah, you may be riding around driving in a Camry, but if you were making $300,000 a year, I guarantee you would trade that Camry in and you would be riding around in an 8 Series BMW or something significantly nicer because you could afford it. That's how it works. Women and their beauty is looked at as the same way. And this is why I have pushed the idea continuously over the years that dudes need to get their shit together before they settle down and get into a relationship. That way the woman can be comfortable and the man can get what he wants, and the woman can be comfortable in the fact that the man chose you when he was at the top of his game. So you can be, what's the word that I'm looking for? I don't want to use comforted again, but yeah, you can be secure. You can be secure in the idea that you're actually what he wanted. But when you go out here trying to be the come up chick and the potential girl and all that other shit, there is no guarantee with that. You may be a Camry to him that he's riding around and getting from point A to point B. But when he actually gets on, he's going to be like, I want that BMW, or I want that S-Class, Mercedes Benz. You know what I'm saying? Or I want that Audi, or I want that Porsche. And if you're not Porsche material, he's going to trade you in and get something else. That's why I'm not with the whole come up, man, she need to be down for me when I had nothing in my pocket but bubble gum and lint. Like, the fuck out of here. No, absolutely not. But, I have to call Kevin out, with, his antics about every time he comes across a woman that has already got it going on. He's like, well, you need to date down and your expectations are too high. You need to date down. You need, there's plenty of brothers out here that are making average incomes. No woman making six figures should be dating some dude making $40,000. That's a disaster waiting to happen. Not only that, it reinforces matriarchy in the black community. And I'm saying that as a son of a woman who makes more than his father. And I can tell you as a result, there are many things that I was not able to go to my father for about starting businesses and doing things because my father wasn't a go-getter. He wasn't a move maker. So then when we translate, again, remember, the family unit is the fundamental unit of any given community. So then when we get into actually, talking about the black community and fixing the community and everything, you need strong men who are ahead of their women in the relationship so that they can guide things not only in the community but in their home. But it starts in the home, and they have to set that standard within the home. Once Kevin gets into the, oh well, you're only a 6, or you're making six figures or something like that, and you still ain't got it what a dude wants, then you need to date down. Now, I don't know what advice that Kev should give him, but the whole idea that they should date down, that's just not something that I'm willing to say. I wouldn't go up there and say that. I would just be like, I do like the Indians and kind of give a bobblehead or something like that. I'm not gonna co-sign that. I'm not gonna explicitly state, oh, you should date down. Because if you're saying you should date down, then all you're doing is reinforcing exactly what Nicki Minaj did, which is role reversal. Now, we could argue, oh, well, Nicki Minaj is beautiful. She didn't have to date down. Like I said, Nicki Minaj, $80 million. That's going to turn a lot of dudes off. They're going to run off, and they're going to be like, man, that's a lot of power. I don't care how you want to dice it. $80 million in the hands of a woman is a lot of power. And then the second thing is Nicki Minaj is, street culture. You know what I mean? That's going to be a big problem for a lot of professional men. So that's going to relegate her to the people that are in the entertainment business like her. You know what I mean? And sadly, but the reality is a lot of those people are dysfunctional. A lot of those people do come from broken homes. They come from the streets. They come from poverty. And this is the face of black success. When you go into other communities, it's like you got these heiresses and you got these people that are extremely wealthy because her father started IBM, or her father, like freaking Bill Gates just had his daughter get married. You know what I mean? They have these people within, their communities that are, super wealthy based off of, what the men in that community built and created, and the billions of dollars and the millions of dollars that they got from that. And so there's a whole bunch of freaking rich kids and shit like that, kids that grew up in the Hamptons and all. There's a whole population of those people where, like, you see them on the cover of a magazine, usually because they did something wrong. They got a DUI, and it's like, heiress to such and such. And you're like, who the fuck is that? You sitting there like, who is that? Who the hell is that? I don't even know who this person is. But that doesn't really happen in the black community. We don't talk about heirs and heiresses. There's no such thing. You know what I mean? The wealthiest black people in the black community, seemingly, they're at least that are always in the forefront of everything, are always the black people that are, sports, entertainment, rappers, all that stuff. And it could be argued they don't bring a lot of class to the table. They're not classy and they're not sophisticated. They come from the streets. That's what they promote in their music. And then some people could argue, well, see, that's white people's standards and this, that, and the third. Again, these problematic, discussions about, this sort of ghetto fabulous standpoint. And I got to give her credit. Chrissy did an excellent video covering the topic. I forget what she called it. Cap sent it to me. I checked it out. It was basically, Chrissy was addressing all the women that, they have this sort of ghetto fabulous approach to it. Like, I forget what she called it. It's like relatable struggle. That's what she called it. Relatable struggle. To where, she's got her, her bougie, hypergamous movement, black women in luxury, but then the women will smack it down because they can't relate to it. They can't relate to, I don't know, Pretty Woman, Polo, and the Steaming Divots. They can't relate to that. It's not a black space. But they can relate to Cash Doll and, or they can relate to Ruby Rose, He and His Feelings or something like that. They can relate to, that. They can relate to Bundles and Weaves and, Ari Fletcher and freaking, who else? Who's another person that's what's an example of relatable struggle? Even the Sierra situation, being a baby mama and then getting some beta male simp to provide for you and your kids, and like just shit like that. It's all relatable struggle. And dominant society, white dominant society, is never going to co-sign that and respect that as classy or sophisticated or anything like that. And people could argue, oh well, that's just racism. They're never going to acknowledge it anyway. And I agree with that. But at the same time, even internally, if we define it for ourselves, that shit is not classy. That shit is broken. But that'll always be a back and forth conversation, because you'll have people who will jump up and they will say, so you're still bringing in Eurocentric standards into the room. Nicki Minaj has $80 million. So, it's always going to be a problem. But, yeah, the role reverse, when she got up there and she said, yeah, ladies, you need to go out there and be successful and then pick the man that you choose. I was like, role reversal. And Kev sat there with his button lip and he didn't say shit. Kev didn't say shit. And again, he wasn't going to. It's like, what's he going to do? Attack Nicki Minaj? Like, first off, Kev doesn't operate like that. But so that's going to have to be something that Nicki is going to have to, she's going to have to, want her shit to be analyzed by Kevin. And I don't even know if that would be beneficial to her with, her brand and being Nicki Minaj and all that. People already talk about her situation. A lot of black women are upset about her with who she got with. It just reinforces these sort of ideas of Dustin is quiet as kept. A lot of black men are kind of upset about who she got with. It only reinforces, what we've been saying and why you get a lot of dudes that end up jumping the fence. They're like, look, it's cultural, and, this is how these women think, and this is what they value, and hey, I'm out. I'm not going to sit there and bump gums with that. On top of the fact that, like I was telling my man, I was like, we are not desired like that. Street culture has taken over. It has dominated everything. That is the premier image of the black man. And, educated lames, so to speak, we have not done a decent, we haven't done any job in terms of promoting our own image. We have not. We have simply bitched from the sidelines. Why are you picking him? Obviously, that's going to fall apart. And the women go and they get with those dudes. They have their babies and shit falls apart. And then they come back online or, later on, 10 years later, bitching about how they want to upgrade and they want, a man with, stability and responsibility. But the crazy thing is if the street dude that they got with or had a baby by exhibited the stability and responsibility that the lame did, they wouldn't be attracted to or moved by the initial reasons as to why they got with the street dude in the first place. That's the crazy part. I say the same thing about these women raising these sons. I'm like, your son is nothing like the father, the boy's biological father. You raised a lame. My son's a little good boy, and he goes to church, and he loves white Jesus, and he's a straight A student, and he joined the chess club. And I'm sitting there like, and what niggas were you interested in who were in the chess club? Come on, lady. And there's beautiful black women out there for him. Yeah, he's gonna have black women a few that might be on him because they're nerds too. But guess what? They ain't gonna be beautiful. And chances are, it completely ignores what he may want. And that's another thing, which is foul of Kevin to say when he goes up there and he says, you need to date down. You just ain't what a high value man wants. You need to date down. And who says that the dudes that are at the bottom actually want that? You have dudes that are trying to get their shit together, on the come up and whatnot. I'm not talking about dudes that settle in bullshit because they can't demand anything either. From their position of bullshit. But I'm saying you got dudes, it's offensive to have a dude that's trying to get out the mud, and then here comes Kevin dumping the wheelbarrow of all the undesirable chicks or women that he deems undesirable for high value men onto these dudes. Like, hey, man, I'm trying to get to where you at, man. You know what I mean? Like, Kev or, some of these other people, they'll try to be like this is what you need to do to be successful like me. And it's like, yeah, I'm trying to get to where you're at. Aren't you the one selling advice? Okay. Yeah, don't be over here trying to dump these fat bitches on me just because I'm not where you're at. Fuck that. You see, and that's one of the things that it's like that's not some cool shit to do. It's like you end up shitting on your own audience. Motherfuckers like, yeah, I'm trying to get my shit together. I'm trying to do this, Kev. What do you think I should do? And then Kev will have a video with some undesirable woman that he deems less attractive. She's too fat, or she's makes too much money or something like that. And then Kev will be like, well, you need to date down. And then he'll start pushing that wheelbarrow of all these chicks. All the women that he gives the 21 gun salute, he'll start pushing them and being like, yeah, you need to get with these guys. And, again, there's a whole bunch of guys sitting there. They're looking up like, man, where all these fucking undesirable bitches come from? Goddamn, Kev, I'm trying to get to where you at. They're trying to climb the wall and shit. And Kevin's up there like Donkey Kong throwing these barrels of fucking undesirable women over the shit. And motherfucker trying to get to the top like Mario. It's crazy. So... Again, this is why I always tried to warn Kevin about some of the shit that he was saying. I tried to warn, all the sort of antics. I tried to warn about that because again, once you now, again, people talk about, I brought up before, I'm like, Kevin's trying to go mainstream. But see, the problem is like the converse. First off, I don't even know how this black conversation can go mainstream. But the bigger you get, the more hollow the conversation becomes. Because then you get to the women like Nicki Minaj, and then you can't say what needs to be said. Nicki is prime candidate of role reversal. Like Nicki, yeah, you are going to rip into her husband. Like, what the fuck? Nicki, what the fuck were you doing? And what the fuck was he doing? Really, nigga, you gonna get, well, shit, it's a come up for me. It is a come up. And it's like, see, and you're the problem. What's wrong with so many black men out here? Instead of getting your shit together. I mean, we could talk about prison reform and he's got a felony and everything. But, truth be told, man, people don't play with that sexual assault shit. They don't play with that. And then with Nicki, it's like, really, like, you should have stayed with Meek. Shit. The fuck was you doing? At least Meek got some money. You should have stayed with, I don't know, Drake. Shit. But, it may not have been Nicki's fault. It may have been Meek's fault. It may have been Drake's fault. I'm like, damn, Drake, you should have stayed with Nicki. I don't know what Nicki's like personally. I mean, all I know is she making them crazy, the mask faces. But I'm just like, and then what did Drake do? Go out there and get some stripper bitch fucking pregnant, and now he's a baby dad to her, and then talking about hot sauce and the condoms and all that stuff. And I'm like, again, no discipline. You know what I'm saying? Nicki went out there and she had a baby intentionally. I don't know. Again, I don't know Nicki personally. I don't know how she is, off camera, but I'm like, man, something's up with her. I'm like, you mean to tell me that you could, yeah, okay, yeah, you got a dude making $1 million, and, I just don't believe that she couldn't have found some dude that was making at least $1 million, and just making something, just not dust. And she went out there and she got with a Ray and Pookie. He on the camera with the damn Glock with the extendo sticking out the back, a felon. You know what I mean? I'm like, the feds could be looking at Nicki's video like, who got him the Glock, Nicki? Who got him the Glock with the extendos, Nicki? She on the live like, get out the camera. People were calling it out. I remember the shit. He over there in the passenger seat. She's a mess. Nicki's a mess. Maybe very nice woman in real life, but I'm like, her whole situation is a mess and reinforces everything that a lot of brothers have come online saying. And it's sad that, Nicki ends up being the face of black women and the poster child of black women, which technically she shouldn't because she's non-ADOS, but she ends up being the poster child and whatnot. And you get all these young African-American women that get inspired by women like Nicki and Cash Doll and freaking, Cardi B and who's the other one? Megan Thee Stallion and whatnot. And, these women do not have the, traits of women that are suitable for traditional marriages. Once a woman has that type of money, has that type of power, they essentially become men, and they go out here and they try to operate and function like men. That's what they do. So I don't know what else to say about the whole situation, but like I said, Kevin has said enough times, well, you need to date down. So there was no real way, and maybe he realized it in that moment, but there was no real way for him to, point that out with Nicki. It's like, no, Nicki, that's not how it works. And it really goes to show you how much even Nicki has wrong orientation, because she hasn't been in these conversations. Nicki been touring and making money and, doing all her, I'm a motherfucking monster. She's doing all her shit, but she's not up to speed on why role reverse is problematic. And quiet as is kept, as much as not a lot of these non-ADOS black people talk. I'm like, y'all sure got a lot of these foreign black women that got these wrong orientations and whatnot. A lot of these, freaking, Caribbean black folks, they got a lot of role reversal going on that doesn't get discussed. Like I said, a lot of the foreign blacks, when they come here, they're bringing the best. The best get to come here. You know what I mean? And they like to try to compare the best of their community to the worst of the African American community, and that simply shouldn't be done. You know what I mean? It's like a lot of Caribbean blacks, they'll come to America and they'll be like, damn, I thought y'all had money. Yeah, of course you did, because when people go on vacation to the islands, you are seeing just the black people, the African Americans who can afford to go on vacation in the islands. So you're seeing our best. If you see a black man and he's got a whole family of let's say that there's 5 of them, him and his wife and 3 kids, and they're in some big expensive hotel, they're staying at the Marriott or some shit like that, and you're serving them and whatnot, yeah, you're going to think, damn, I got to get to America because black people are doing real well in America. Yeah, because that's what you're looking at. You're looking at the best. He works for Genentech, pharmaceutical company out there in California. He's making damn good money, or he's a bank manager or some shit like that. Yeah, of course. But then, they come to, North Philly, they come to, the Bronx or some shit like that. They come to, the hood, the Baltimore, you know what I mean? And then they look around and they're like, damn, I didn't know y'all was struggling like this. Yeah, because all you saw was the best. And that goes in both directions, like I'm saying. You're seeing, when you see foreigners over here, a lot of them are the best. The parents make sacrifices for the kids do well. They come here with an agenda. But anyway, that's off topic. We'll get to that later. But I don't really have much else to say about it. But yeah, that would be an interesting conversation. But again, if Nicki's happy in her relationship, and all that shit would just, again, opening up people's eyes to shit. If they're asleep, if they're hooked up to the machine, if they're in the matrix, and you don't really have a solution for them, what's the point of waking them up? You know what I mean? Like, if Nicki's in her marriage and everything is cool and she's taking care of dude and that's fine with her, going in and waking her up and talking about how bad of a situation she's got going on, it's like that conversation needed to be had before she decided to get married and then have dudes' kids. Saying it now only would contribute to what? Busting up the household. Is that what we really want to do? Even though we know it's role reversed? I don't know. Because I'm not a fan of role reversed households. Even if the it is what you would call an intact household because you have 2 parents in the home. But just imagine. Imagine when that child, I don't know whether Nicki has a boy or a girl, but imagine that child gets about 15 and 16. They're witnessing an emasculated man in a home that doesn't have any real power, doesn't have any real say-so. And so when they end up becoming adults and they go out there in the real world, they're going to have a real warped sense of how the world actually operates, especially when you want to start talking about competing against other racial groups, because the other racial groups don't have that orientation in the vast majority of their homes. So here you got a community full of a bunch of black people with role reverse households, and then again you got girls thinking that they're supposed to be dudes, and then you got dudes thinking that they're supposed to be a bunch of beautiful women. And then Cynthia G will make a video, y'all don't build nothing, y'all need to compete. I'm like, how would they even know to compete based off of the role reversed ass backwards foundations that they came from? You want them to compete when you wake up to the reality that other men are competing and dominating you because they're raised in households with the right orientation, which is what the fuck we've been trying to tell all these women over the last freaking 12 years I've been online. But see, the thing is because they want what they want to ignore that fact. They want to think that you can produce warriors from a role reversed household. I'm like, no, you cannot. And that's why if you want to talk about in the grand scheme of things and you want to talk about white supremacy, that's why white supremacy would love nothing more than for the black households to be role reversed. Oh, come get your resources from big white zaddy government. Come get your funding from big white zaddy government. You don't need your man. And again, that's virtually impossible to pull black women away from that. If they can get resources without actually having to negotiate with their own men, fuck it, why not? Yeah, in the short term, it looks great and wonderful. But then when you got a bunch of beta males and you got a bunch of role reverse houses and you got a bunch of men that won't build, defend, or maintain, and then the ones that do are looking at all these women with the wrong orientation and saying to themselves, I'd be better off over the fence with a non-black woman producing a new racially ambiguous population as a black woman, you got a problem on your hands. Now, arguably, the black men have a problem on their hands because creating a racially ambiguous population is not a power position. But again, people got to go on with their lives. If a man wants to have a family, I'm not going to knock him if he goes off and gets with Becky and produces mixed children and has a family. Just understand that your children may have an identity crisis, depending on what gender they are because of the gender-based one-drop ruling that goes on in the black community. But eventually I think that the mixed people will get to a critical mass and you will see many of them acting coonish like, the coloreds of South Africa, and you will see them operating in their own collective best interest, not in the interest of whites and not in the interest of blacks. But that is only when they get to an actual critical mass. But we'll see. That story is, yet to be told, but we shall see. So anyway, I want to end this video because I don't want to be too long. You know how I get. So that's all I got to say. That's my video. SWP out.